So this is actually, it's not, but that one's my school razor over there. I love it. I use it all the time. And I'll probably clean that up with scissors later. But from the very beginning, you're starting with nice soft lines that just look real natural and blendable. I'll usually do something like this in 3 sections, but those 3 sections, you can break them down a little bit more if you need a thinner section. The next one's usually about 1 inch from the top of the ear, and just follow the parietal around in the shape of their head. And I can see through that, but I almost can't. Any thicker, I'd be messing myself up here.
Yeah, that's great. I can see through it. Now, I missed it. Did you prep her with the Olaplex?
I did.
Like a cutting lotion?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
I like it extra with the razor because it just really glides. So I want to elevate this a little bit. I do want some stacking back here. She's got nice thick hair for it. To establish that guide, I'm going to start in the very middle and pull that angle out. You know, kept that line. You don't want to take too much at once, and I over directed, but not by too much, because I want a nice soft line even in that graduation. I don't like when it's too bulky right here in front of the ears, that like dog ear icky look that you don't really want with the bob. And I did the same over here, so I'll just show you what I did. I don't remember who this was, but I like the example. If you look at the top of their head like a clock with 12, 6, 3, and 9, you don't ever want to over direct more than like 2 degrees, 2 numbers.
Oh, that's brilliant.
Or it's gonna just be too weird and chunky. And I'm just gonna do the same. I'm gonna take it up about like another 2 inches and do the same thing all around.
Super fine weave. Again, this is one of those things where it's like, don't be lazy with it. This doesn't look like a whole lot of hair that we're working with, but it's a very, very important piece of hair. You know, when they're pulling everything back into a ponytail, this is going to be what determines whether it's a good highlight or a bad highlight. Okay? I'll hold the foil up, and towards the bottom of the foil, I'll place the comb. I've got a comb with a long tail today, and air that's blowing it down. I've already woven the pieces out that I want to take, and I'm going to lay that foil like right there at the part, and I'm keeping tension on the hair. You can feel the tension I'm pulling, right? Mm-hmm. Am I hurting you?
No.
You're not hurting them. Don't be scared of tension. Okay?
I do not.
And lay it right down. Now I'm pressing the ends down. Remember what I talked about? How your fingers, you know, this a section no bigger than this. It's the same thing we've got right here. Okay? Now, I'm not starting applying this lightener all the way up at the top here. I'm gonna start like in the middle. And then I move my hand. See where I grabbed it like that? Now I'm gonna place it on the rest of the hair first, and I'm going to very gently, lightly move it up closer to the edge of the foil. See? We got it? Now, we're gonna see lightning from there down. We don't have any room for that to bleed. We wanna make sure that it stays that way. We just put a liquid on this foil. So we need to make sure that we're securing that foil so that it doesn't slide. I like to fold it in 3s, especially if I'm dealing with shorter hair or hair around the front here that I really need to make sure is secure. So I'll fold it up a third of the way and a third of the way. And I try only to crease it on the outside because I'm not looking to create lines in the hair where it's processing. Then, if you really want to create a tight foil packet, this is how I do it. You can fold it up. You're going to see here if you've had any sliding. If you've had any sliding while you've been folding that up, bring it right back down to the bottom. And that's just going to tighten that foil up and give you that protection so that we don't have anything, you know, coming out. A lot of times if I lift that up and I see, oh crap, I've already had a little bit of bleeding there, which we haven't, but occasionally that happens, I always check. I just take the end of my comb, wipe it off. That's it. That's all you have to do, especially when you're working with lightener. If it's not, you know, with color, if there's even the tiniest trace of it on there and you can't really see it, it's still going to oxidize. It's still going to change the hair. Lightener doesn't really work that way. If you scraped it off and you can't see it, it's gone. Okay? So when you fold that back over, if you still feel like you need a tighter packet, if you're still concerned that that's going to move, I'll do this on people with really short hair or on kids. If we're putting foils in kids, wiggly kids, sometimes we need a little bit of extra security. I'll go back in and on the edges, just crease it with my comb and fold it in like that. Nice, neat, tight foil packet. You can see exactly how wide your section was. You're good to go. So the first, it's really important to keep that stitch like really tiny and really soft. It's going to make it feel very natural. Did you guys see how close I was here? A lot of people will come down here and try to like take their foils here. That's all, like, look, it's not separating out well. You got all these baby hairs doing all this craziness. It ain't working. Again, sloppy. Come back here, bring it right up close to the root. Take your stitches there. Then section it off.
Like there's literally nothing you
Peel
can
that
do
stuff
with
away you don't need.
That's, I mean,
Is I've got the rest of this triangle section. Now I'm gonna start changing up the way that I'm placing everything a little bit. I'm trying to create a very soft lay with it all and not a lot of heavy lines and anything. So I'm gonna start like V'ing it out. So the tightest concentration of highlights is gonna be here. So I'm gonna take a section from this point and bring it in a little bit wider over the ear, like that. And so I'm gonna take that down and I'm gonna take my stitches right at the top of that section. Then I'm gonna come back here again and take it again.
so that's always
Like
going
that.
to be your access point.
Exactly. Like I shift that access point just a little bit, but I'm just gonna keep V'ing it out like that and placing my foils. Okay, see how that section is right there? That's a little too wide. So when I take this section, I'm gonna do 2 side-by-side foils. So just keep that in mind when you're taking your sections. Don't try to pack a big wide section into a foil that's too short. It's not
Not
gonna work.
super noticeable, but just like soften up the ends a little bit.
Are you going to slither?
Yes, I'm gonna slither in the heavy spots.
Slither like a snake.
Again, I don't want this where she parts over here. I don't want it to be too heavy. So I kind of use the bangs as a guide for where I was going. I might twirl it a little bit, but not too much, and just thin out the ends just a little bit. You don't want to
That's
leave
cool.
weird lines, but it just makes it a little bit softer without notching or cutting off any length.
Way and this way. I'm gonna go in, depending on how much she wants to see, right in the front. Some people like to have a big heavy piece, some people just like to have a little bit. I'm gonna go in and lay those foils like that. I'm gonna do the same thing that I did on the side and give her 2 pieces with a heavy baby light right there, okay? So I'm not going to leave very much hair out in between, but I'm going to take very, very, very fine stitches, okay? So I'm going to start on this side. If you guys want to come see, you can. I'm just going to take a really fine section right there in the front. There we go. When you're working with longer hair like hers, sometimes you need to clip it back and sometimes you just don't. Sometimes the weight of it will just hold it down enough. But I'm going to come through here, do like a really fine stitch. One thing to remember when you're trying to decide how much goes into the foils, because I know sometimes we kind of get in a hurry and we start taking bigger sections. When you lay it down like that, if you can't read a newspaper through that, it's too thick. You need to go back in and take some out. Because when it's too thick to read a newspaper through, it's very easy to end up with dry spots, and those dry spots don't lighten, okay?
That's a smart way to look at it.
That fan shape as we moved up, we're going to do something very, very similar on top. And this is just going to create a really nice loose texture here. So I've got right there around the hairline, I've got those two foils coming right down in the front. Now what I'm going to do past here is, okay, we've got that section. You can see like where the hair was into that foil. So, you know, we can kind of fold it up right there. So that right there, I'm going to move about a third of the way down into it. That's my point of insertion. Then I'm going to pull that down. That's going to be my next foil, okay? So it's still kind of moving diagonal forward. Now I'm going to stitch that.
I hear people call this the skip guard technique, but if I go in bald, I'll go in next with like a 1 or a 2 and leave, you know, a section out. So I'm making the lines that I'm then trying to blend. You have to see the line before you can blur it. now I am gonna go back and start with a much longer guard. I don't think I'll go shorter than a 4 at any point. So I'm gonna go right up here. The same thing, where you feel it starting to turn like that, go with that motion and just flick so that you're not cutting in. You're just cutting that section consistently. Regular walls. It'll probably take like 2 or 3 times of blending it. So this is a 1, and I'm going straight off the head until that 1 stops cutting. Don't turn up. Just keep it straight on the head. And angle your clippers. If you've been cutting this way, turn them this way. Make sure you don't have any one and a half, so a 1 with the blades let all the way out. On my regular clippers, it's what's letting me finally get rid of that. Where this dips right here, I went back in with a 1 too and just got that a little bit. Just with the shape of his head, it wants to make a little bit of a ridge right there, but since I dropped it, I'm just smoothing that back out.